Hello interwebs, welcome to Let's Fix Computers. I've got a Norsonic precision sound analyzer here. It's an NOR 145. So this is one of those fancy decibel meters that gives you decibel readings from the microphone on the end, and it gives you a spectrum analysis of that and such like as well. So I don't really know a huge amount about these things, but it's fairly obvious what it does. So this is in for repair because the I/O port on the bottom there has come off. You can see that's hanging loose. So customer has brought this in to see if we can fix that. So initially I'm just having a look just to see if it's something that I can approach or not. I'm more worried that connector's probably not too difficult to deal with from a soldering perspective, but I don't even know what that connector is called. You know, it's like obviously a compact serial port or something, but yeah, I've got to do some research to find out where I would even find a connector like that. So let's start by taking it apart and we'll see how far we get and we'll move forward from there. So let's roll the intro and we'll start taking screws out the back of this thing. Right, so this, I think these are, yeah, those are T6. Oh, why are they T6? No one uses T6 anymore. I'm going to start just by taking every single screw out on the back. This looks like some kind of battery cover, so we'll prioritize that. Is that just going to come out? Oh, that's literally a battery pack. Fair enough. 3.6 volts, 25 watt hour. Interesting. That's fair. That's reasonably beefy. Windows Embedded 7 Compact. I hate it. No wonder this thing took so long to start up when I initially turned it on to have a look at it. Right, then that microphone pulls off. Anything under here? SIM card tray, maybe? That's lifting. Maybe that end cap unscrews. That would make sense. Yeah. Oop. There we go. Got an antenna there. Okay. Right. Interesting multi-board construction here. With a subboard that pops out. I'm not going to try and take too many stabs at what all of these parts are, just because I have no idea what I'm doing here. But, right, that should just lift out. Yeah, there we go. So this is a that's got an IMEI number, so that is a SIM card slot. That is a cellular card. I guess you can have this monitor over a cell network or something. Then we've got all the audio stuff going on up this end. And that must be like a compute board or something. It's got a Texas Instruments chip on it. And then the connector that we care about is this guy here. We're going to need to take that out to look at it properly. Let's take that out. Right. There's an interconnect between these boards, so I'm going to... Will that just lift out? Okay, no. So the microphone connector there is attached to the bottom board. And then this top board is just anchored down on these screws. And it's got a big old ground connection, or some kind of connection down there, which is interesting. Didn't trust that to go through the interlink. Right, and we've got a couple of standoffs here, and then the other screws around there. In fact, I think all of these standoffs will need to come off. And stepping down to a T5 for these smaller screws on the bottom board. Oh, I don't think I need to, actually. It's coming out. Oh no, we will need that. More in a moment. I'll disconnect the front end first. Right, that gets that off, and then finally we've got this button board, so that requires those small screws to come out. And then we can get to the area that we want to be in. There we go. Big old lattice FPGA there. So that might actually, that's probably actually the CPU. Okay, and now the connector that we've come here for is this guy here, and all of the pins have sheared off there, so there's no repairing that. That connector needs to be replaced. It's holding on by the right-hand anchor point. Left-hand anchor point is sheared, and to be honest, at this point, I might just fatigue that the rest of the way off. There we go. So given that all of those pins have already snapped, there was no way we were going to be able to repair that. The connector actually has to come off. So we can manually clear those holes now, and then we just need a new one of these. So the question is, what is this connector? So on top there it says MDSM 15PE. So let's start by Googling that. Okay, so this is a specialist connector by ITT Canon LLC. I did a bunch of Googling around to see where I could find it, and a couple of the mainstream electronic suppliers have it. Farnell, DigiKey, Mauser, etc., etc. DigiKey have the best price on it available to me. Single quantity one, £23. Good grief! That's before postage costs and stuff like that. This connector is an expensive boy. However, apparently it's mil spec and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe high pin density connectors like this are just expensive. However, I had a look around on eBay and AliExpress and stuff like that. Could not find it anywhere. So we're going to have to go legit and get it from DigiKey. So I'm going to go and talk to the client about this and hit them with the bill, and we'll get this on order and get this thing fixed up again. Okay, right, we're back and we have the very expensive connector. So this ended up being a lot more than the list price that I showed on the website. After they slapped on delivery and tax and stuff like that, I ended up paying like £46 for this wretched thing. But whatever, we've got it, it's mine, let's get it fitted. It's still worth doing because while I was looking into this, it also turns out that this thing is bloody expensive, like to the tune of several £1,000s, possibly even close to a 5-figure sum. If you have to, when you go to the Norsonic website, it's send email for quotation, and that's code for if you have to ask the price, you can't afford it. So at any rate, despite the exorbitant cost of just a connector, it's still worth doing. So yeah, let's get to fitting this. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to mount this up in my vise, and we're going to single pin desolder the remains of the old connector. Then I'll use my desoldering gun to clear the holes, and then we should just be able to drop the new one in. This is a through-hole connector. So basically, it's pretty easy to change. It's just a matter of just clearing the holes first. And I'm not going in with hot air on this because I'm not risking hot air on something this expensive. So let's get it mounted up and get the soldering iron up to temperature. Is that an official bodge on this extraordinarily expensive piece of equipment? Say it isn't so. Okay, right, I'm going to start with some flux, and I'm going to flow some fresh solder onto these just to wet the joins. I'm going to start 350C here. Double-sided board shouldn't be that heavy. These big old anchor points are fairly heavy, but I should just be able to shift those with a bit of heating. Yeah, that's working. Alright, let's just blob all of these up. Doesn't really matter if we put a load of bridges on these, it's fine, we're pulling all of this out. There we go. Now I'm going to come in with the tweezers and we're going to pull out these pins as we flow those joins. Wow, that thing's solid. Will it push through? Oh, I might need to get this one from the other side. Yeah, I'm pushing it through. Okay, when you're stuck in this position where you can't get the solder to move again, I'm just going to put some solder on the iron. So I've got a blob of solder on the iron, and that gives me a contact point to transmit the heat back in. There we go. There we go. Alright, we're now sideways, which means you guys can't see as much, but yeah, it is what it is. Sometimes this is how it's got to be. So let's get to desoldering. Alright, we've got all the pins out now, so now we've just got to clear these holes. So I'm going to put some more flux down, and I'm just going to try my luck with some wick first on the smaller holes, because the desoldering gun can be a little bit rough, but then so can wicking, so, you know, I'm just going to see how this goes. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut off a length of wick and hold that in the tweezers, because that gives less thermal mass and should make things a little bit easier. And let's just see if we can clear the small ones. The big one's definitely desoldering gun, but let's see how we go. That looks like it's going well. I think we just got a whole bunch of those. I'm going to immediately break my advice and use just the spool. Okay, we need just a little bit of extra solder. Those last couple of holes, there's just not quite enough solder in them for the wick to catch. So sometimes you've got to add a little bit more and then take it away again, which is annoying because it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but don't listen to what the armchair experts say. Clearing holes is harder than it looks. Either that or I just suck at it. Right, I think a couple of those holes aren't quite done yet, but the desoldering gun is ready to go, so we'll just buzz across with this for the others now. Okay, I cannot get this last hole to clear for love nor money. I've struggled with it for a ridiculous amount of time. So, however, it is just one hole, so we can probably still get our new connector in. So let's start having a look at that. Now, I could just cut off that pin because it's actually not connected, but I'm not going to risk that. So what I'm going to do is we're going to get our connector lined up, and I'm going to flow some solder on just that hole. Because it's just one, we should have no issues getting everything else in place. So let's have a look and see how this is looking. So all those other ones are going in, but we're being held up by that front pin. Right, and I'm just going to try and heat this hole while I gently push the connector in. Ah. Might need to get 2. Yeah, alright. The problem with doing this is you need enough thermal mass to press against the cold pins that you're trying to put in. Okay, I think we're being held up by the anchor pins as well. This is why we need clear holes, man. Right. Did I just get it? I might have. I'm going to try it. Yes! Yes! We're in! That is a firm connector. I actually had a conversation with the client about, how this thing came off in the first place, but yeah, this thing is rigid. I don't know how it broke off. Hopefully I can make all of that coherent in the edit, because it would be very easy to just jump cut to be like, I cleared the holes. But also, that's missing the point that sometimes you'll be working on something like this and the hole just won't clear and everything is going wrong and you're like, how do we get out of this? And yeah, some people make it look very easy. There'll be some people that are just like, you suck. And I'm like, okay. But also, if you're learning to do soldering work like this, knowing that it is difficult and it is a struggle, personally, I think there's a lot of value to that. So, all right. Time for fresh solder. So you may have spotted that those problem pins haven't come through. I noticed this after I soldered the rest of the pins, so it was too late to easily do anything about it. What's happened is that the pins have pushed back into the connector. However, there is space for them to do this without mashing into each other. So combined with the holes still getting filled with fresh solder, they do actually link up. This isn't ideal, but as you'll see in a moment, it ended up working just fine. Those last 2 pins, they didn't go through, it just pushed the pins up on the connector. I should have checked, the pins weren't there and I spotted as I was going over it with the iron. Yep, and the right hand one. Excellent. Beeps where it should, doesn't beep where it should not. Good. Okay, right, now these anchor holes, massive holes, so we're just going to flood fill these bad boys. Here we go. Yeah, I want nice big solder blobs in these. And we've got to linger on these just to make sure that that solder really flows in and around the join. There we go. Right, let's do some cleaning up. This would have been a lot easier to do before I soldered it on. There we go, I'll put those lugs on. They stick out a little bit further than the old ones, but it is it's the right connector, so I'm just going to trust that that's accurate. And if the customer says there's a problem with that, then, I'll hold on to this and we can always put the old ones on. Alright, I'm going to put this back together again. Right, there we go, everyone. Battery's deathly low, but it is there and it is functional. And so as you can see, we've got the spectrum analyzer on the screen and it's measuring my droning voice. So I can't test the port we've actually replaced because I don't have the connectors for this, or I don't even know what this I/O port does. But that will be up to the client. Obviously, I will talk to them and be like, you know, go and test it for me. Let me know how you get on. If there's any problems, bring it back in. We'll look at it again, etc., etc. However, the device has survived the process, so that's pretty good as far as I'm concerned. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you all next time with something else. Bye for now.